Okay, for this particular problem, 5.1.2, um, it's really easy to miss these types of problems because of rounding, not because a calculation was done wrong. So what I try to do as I'm working these problems is I try to look to see if maybe there was rounding that occurred in the example. So what I looked at is when you get down to the part where you're going to multiply um, the difference between xi and the mean squared times the probability almost to the end of the problem, you will get a longer number here. So in this homework problem, you have to kind of do it the way the example is worked, and what they're doing here is they're rounding 4 decimal places. So if you don't round at those 4 decimal places, your variance is going to be a little bit different from what they're wanting you to find or get on the homework. So I did open this problem in Excel and I've already worked it. So when you're doing probability in the mean, first you have to take xi, which is this number here. So I'm going to take the probability and multiply it by xi and each one of these, and then add them up and get the mean, which this particular student did have the mean correct. Then what happens is most students typically can get to this point, but then they're not sure what to do or where to round after this. But basically, when you have the probability, you're having to do a little bit of an extra step. So we're going to take xi, which is our data value, and we're going to subtract the mean, which is 2.39. We're going to take each of these numbers and subtract the mean from these numbers, and the difference between xi and the mean of 2.39 is this. Then we're going to square these. Then you have to do one more step. You have to take your number here and multiply it back by the probability. So when you do this, so let's say you actually multiply these, the number you actually get is a lot bigger than 4 decimal places. So what you have to do is you have to round these to 4 decimal places. So when you do xi minus mean squared, which is basically this number you've already calculated, and when you go back and multiply it times the probability, this number needs to be 4 decimal places. Then when you add these up, you get the variance, and then the square root of the variance is 1.304. But when you get this number, the homework wants you to round it to 3 decimal places, and that's how you get the 1.130. So again, if you didn't round to 4 decimal places here, that could potentially cause you to be off more than my stat lab will allow. So hopefully this will help anyone that is having trouble getting the standard deviation.